Okay, welcome everybody to the 10th session of Light on the Path Meditative Inquiry. And same as usual, we'll start with 2 minutes of silence to kind of focus on building an atmosphere of siblinghood and trying to get at life's deeper aspects if we can. Thank you for that, everybody. And just a quick recap of where we're at in the book. First line, these rules are written for all disciples. Attend you to them. And then there's 4 unnumbered rules. Right now we're on the 3rd. This is the first one. It's before the eyes can see, they must be incapable of tears. The second one is before the ear can hear, it must have lost its sensitiveness. And the one that the quotes we'll look at is a commentary on now is this third one. Before the voice can speak in the presence of the master, it must have lost the power to wound. And this is a slide that we did read last time, but it relates directly to the next one. So I'll read this one here relatively fast just to give context. And then if someone wants to read the next one, please do. This one goes, in claiming the power of speech, as it is called, the neophyte cries out to the Great One, who stands foremost in the ray of knowledge on which he has entered, to give him guidance. When he does this, his voice is hurled back by the power he has approached, and echoes down to the deep recesses of human ignorance. In some confused and blurred manner, the news that there is knowledge and a beneficent power which teaches is carried to as many men as who will listen to it. No disciple can cross the threshold without communicating this news and placing it on record in some fashion or other. And then directly relate to this idea of letting others know of, some kind of higher truth we may have found is this here. If we have any volunteers to read it, just go ahead if you want to.
I can read.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you. Instead, he stands horror-struck at the imperfect and unprepared manner in which he has done this, helping others. And then comes the desire to do it well. And with the desire thus to help others comes the power. For it is a pure desire, this which comes upon him. He can gain no credit, no glory, no personal reward by fulfilling it, and therefore he obtains the power to fulfill it. Wow.
Yeah, and if anyone has any initial thoughts on this, first impressions or where it makes your mind and faculties go, uh, please feel free. I do think it's interesting that, according to this quote at least, it seems that the more we work in this direction to help others and show them that there's something more than the materialistic and the prevailing tendencies of the Kali Yuga, it seems according to this, the more we go in that direction, the more absurd and ridiculous we look to the rest of the world. Uh, and I'm curious if anyone has any ideas about that. If that's, do you think that's a karmic reaction? Because I'm sure in the past, before, those of us here had any interest in this, we treated those who were going in this direction in the same way, that they were absurd and it doesn't make sense. Or do you think it's something deeper, like some underlying law of the universe that causes this reaction? Or any thoughts you might have about it?
I I
Yeah.
think it's absurd for those who are like too much, into this world that is like about competition and everybody must be the first in the class and like you have all the time this going on. You must be the best and this competition, but in a real thing, well, the brotherhood is like the if you were like the fingers of the same hand, then we were to make cooperation and help each others, like we would help each other ourselves. Like this is the natural state, um so I think the crazy ones are the ones. The world is a little bit crazy one because it's sink into too much into materiality. But the other thought I had when I was reading it, um uh I recently heard about this quote from the Mahatma letters, and it was something like that. I hope I remember. It was something like that. Um, we do not need uh, your beautiful thoughts and aspirations or your beautiful words. What we need and desire is actions. So it's like we got inspiration to do good if we read like the philosophical things, but it's more about what we're gonna do with that. And this is, I think, is like, you know, that if it's something worth knowing, then it's also something worth sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Sven?
Yes, I think that mm, ultimately it doesn't matter what other people think, and we need to really is one of the small things to overcome on spiritual path, this resistance of misunderstanding and people thinking that we're crazy and all of that. It may be significant, it may be very unpleasant or difficult, but it's not a very, very big like stage, I think, on the path to outgrow, to stop caring about that if our really deepest motives call us to do something then. And our best reason tells us that that needs to be done, we need to do it. And that's like one of the more beginning maybe stages, it seems. Um, and yeah, it reminds me of one of the Stoics, something like that the goal of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape the ranks of the insane. So it's been like this always, more or less. Well, maybe as you say in Kali Yuga, yes, for a long time. But ultimately, I think there are many good people, and many good people will also see and appreciate that. So we just need to do that. And to me, it's very interesting how it works exactly, because it seems to me that I understand then that when we are selfless, when we have an impersonal motive, then we gain power. We gain, like nature opens for us its doors, and we gain understanding, we gain insight, we gain some inspiration suddenly. So all of that works, but I just wonder about the mechanism. How does it work exactly? Yeah. the principle seems to be there for sure, but the mechanism I would like to understand more. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to understand more how that mechanism works too. Yeah, because I feel like that if we can understand it, we're then better equipped to fall in line with whatever that mechanism is, and then we become more effective to help people. I wonder if maybe it has something to do with those entities and intelligences that are always working behind the scenes and making nature flow and work. This is speculation, but I wonder if they can see our motivations. And once our motivations, aren't because we want to look spiritual or have prestige or something like that, but it's truly just to help the people around us. I wonder if them seeing that in us allows them to then flow some of their power into us. So it's really not even us doing it. It's some other entity using us as a channel. Just a guess.
I I just to continue, just I again heard some really nice thoughts from Hartman and as I understood, uh, they said if you want to evolve, like the altruism is the way. Uh, like if you serve and do things for the others, how can I say, have a certain amount of knowledge, certain amount of energy, and if you use it not for, only for yourself but in a bigger good, it is like opening up like doors and windows to make let the energy go around. But if you use it your energy only for yourself, then you're like not using it efficiently. Like if you think it's like humanity is a like organism. So in that wise, um, yeah, like you said, this is some kind of other entity can lend their energy or something, and in order to serve, like I in the voice of the silence, I think it is said like if you're doing the work and help out the nature, then the nature will start helping you and consider you as one of its like masters and something like that. Anyway, I think you're right when you talk about that there's probably some kind of energy can flow through you if you show that this is natural for you to choose instead of yourself, like a bigger picture to work on.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts on this particular quote?
Just one afterthought. Maybe we also like release or get access a little more to the energy of our true self when we act more impersonally. Like an extra energy becomes available, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not just external, but internal help comes from it too. Okay. Any takers for reading this quote?
Yes, I can read it.
Thank you.
The history of the whole past, so far as we can trace it, shows very plainly that there is neither credit, glory, nor reward to be gained by this first task which is given to the neophyte. Mystics have always been sneered at and seers disbelieved. Those who have had the added power of intellect have left the posterity their written record, which to most men appear unmeaning and visionary, even when the authors have the advantage of speaking from far off past.
Thank you, Mary Kay. And this is also related to the last one too. A question I had about this was, again, what do you think the reason is for this? It, does it make sense to you that maybe the human race as a whole, while it's in Kali Yuga, kind of needs to bury its head in the sand until the lessons that it's learning is being learned? Uh, Otherwise, it's kind of like missing its opportunity here of what it's meant to learn. Or do you think it's something else or purely karmic?
Okay, could you clarify a little bit the question?
Yeah. So this quote here is saying that there's no credit, glory, or reward to be gained by this task of trying to help others and put into words the direction that we're going. And then I'm asking, why do we think that is? Is it because they're not ready to see that yet, and they need to have that idea of, a higher reality or and these things hidden from them until they're ready for it? Or is it something else?
I think it's something else. I think it is that if you start doing it like sincerely, then your personal, like the lower ego, or like the small self, is becoming less and less. And if you are doing it to get like a gratitude or something out of it, then you are not, um, you know, going on in like where you're supposed to head. Uh, I mean, you will, like karmically, you still get like a reward, but you will, it's not for your personal, this reward. This will, it is like a, you get more involved in your higher self. This is what I read out of it. That the credit and the glory, this is something that the lower ego is very fond of, but the higher one does not need it. Actually, it sometimes even makes the work harder. If, like I think masters, it makes harder for their work if people know about them, but they needed to do it in order to help us. Yeah, give the theosophy to us.
Yeah, that makes
And for
sense.
neophyte is a like a beginner, like a student of masters. So for them, it's like they're still not totally free from the lower self and the ego traps. And maybe like this is like to make sure that if you become neophyte, you will not get credit or glory or some other rewards. There's nothing for the personal or ego. The rewards that uh, will come for the whole humanity and for like a higher self who is like who doesn't care about those things. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like the first test of the disciple of the master, the neophyte, is to try and help people by telling them these things and be sneered at and disbelieve at the same time. Just like Blavatsky was, called a fraud and had lawsuits against her about it.
Maybe that's because the reward is fully inner. Maybe the karma is not yet so good enough, or ability is not yet developed enough to to be reflected in the outer world for the beginning neophyte. So the first tasks more like serve to test and transform the neophyte inside. And on the outside, many different things can be happening. But if it's done well, this first task, then there is some inner transformation which allows for the next tasks, maybe something like that.
Yeah, that's well said.
I think we might get like a reward or like credit or something, and we might not get. And this is like, if we get, it's nice, but if we don't get, it's also okay. And we have to be ready for both. Like another quote that I remember from the message, but the point is, you should not care about outside world giving you like, uh, you know, thanks or acceptance or something. If you only think that you should um, like pay attention is your higher, if your higher self feels that this is a right thing to do or this is beneficial, and yeah, because sometimes we have all kinds of people around, and I think I've heard discouragement is like one of the things that how I don't know, the how can I say, uh the Black Brothers, or how can I say, how can, if they see that somebody is very promising in the philosophical lines, then discouragement, they send them to discouragement. This is like one of the first like test, if you can overcome it. And maybe, yeah, maybe this one is also that you do not hope for credit to glory, but it doesn't matter that, I mean, for Blavatsky also, she had a lot of credit and glory also, but she had both. I mean, putting a name to a magazine Lucifer at that time when people were very Christian, it's like she was asking for it, but like she was also very rememberable because of that. She like, yeah, she was controversial, but at the same time, she she was like very sincere, and if she would done it like you know yeah, if she would done it like a little bit less, then it wouldn't reach out to so many, and it might have not been like so yeah, well reached and so on. So, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if she did that to keep dogmatic people out of the TS. The people from my neck of the woods would never be associated with the Theosophical Society just because the name Lucifer is involved. And we're very dogmatic, so it keeps us out.
You have to be open-minded. Yeah.
Any last thoughts on this one? The next quote's also kind of related to this too. Here's that next one if anyone's willing to read it. No worries if not, I could read it too. The disciple who undertakes the task, secretly hoping for fame or success, to appear as a teacher and apostle for the world, fails even before his task is attempted, and his hidden hypocrisy poisons his own soul and the souls of those he touches. He is secretly worshiping himself, and this idolatrous practice must bring its own reward. And this also makes me think of the people where I'm from that I was just talking about, fundamentalist Christianity. Um, and it's kind of become a global issue at this point because when people become, so dogmatic and you can't really question anything for yourself. They become really easy to manipulate, and then they become the base for all kinds of nefarious directions that we see, coming out of my own country. And I think it's a good illustration of how this hidden hypocrisy can, poison our soul and the soul of everyone we touch. If the real reason we're doing things is if we want to feel superior and get things for ourselves.
Yeah, in this case, the energy would not go to diminish the ego, but to boost the ego. And there are many aspects of the ego: passion, envy, anger, arrogance, and so on. Many of them, and each one of them can become an obstacle. And if the disciple takes an action, then his or her energy can be channeled into that instead of into pure motivation, right? And then I guess what happens is more lessons, more karmic lessons. But it's good if they are not too hard, that they're bearable for this incarnation, for this person.
Yeah.
I think there's a yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary Kay. I'm sorry.
Just another point of view also. They are talking about disciples right now, but overall, if we are not yet disciples, if we are like aspiring to become disciples or like just living your own life and trying to be a little bit nearer that, then sometimes it's a question of like selfish good deeds. Like if I notice my motivation is like selfish, I would like to have a gratitude, or like I notice or whatever, if I do something. So if you, I mean, it is said that it is better to do a good selfish deed than not do it. Like if that's the choice you have to make. The selfish good deed will give you also like some kind of good reward, but it's not that good compared to if the motivation would be unselfish. But again, just keep doing that, and in it will like purify in a long run your motivation. But if it's already disciple is connected to a teacher or master, and this is differently. Like I think the disciple is like uh, it's like a very high like you should be like smarter. But again, they took also some disciples or like how can I say agents or helpers that some of them were not even aware of it, that they were agents of their influence, but who were helping the world to get the message and teachings. So yeah. Um, so if you yourself are like in a position you have to choose whether to do it or not, and you notice that you rather like to have like thanks or something, then just keep doing it. Uh, but also it's good to move in towards that direction that at one point you don't need any thanks, that you are doing it because it's the right thing to do, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good distinction that these quotes seem to be written for disciples and not just regular people like us. Uh, so maybe there's less of a dire consequence. But I still think as above, so below. If we do things and say all the right theosophical stuff, but deep down our motivation is we want to appear like we're selfless and kind so that, it makes us look better. I think it's something to be aware of that it poisons not only ourself, but the people around us. And knowing that can be maybe the motivation to really look at ourselves deeply and make sure we're doing it for the right reasons, because otherwise we're hurting the people around us.
I wonder if what is meant here is regular cello already, because maybe indeed it's like expected from a regular cello that this kind of mistakes or this kind of behavior is already left behind. Of course, there may be some exceptions, some more or less successful cases, probably. But it seems that it's written for people who aspirants who have not yet passed the probation period and become regular cellists. It seems to me like that. And in any way, yes, as above, so below. It's probably applicable to us in the same principle, just maybe in a lesser degree, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was well said. Any any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so first, hi everyone. Um, I think right at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, I've been guilty of those kind of um, self-aggrandizing thoughts. Um, they're somewhat delusional because I wasn't in contact with any kind of spirituality, and I mean, I did pass through a little bit of let's say some kind of a savior thinking right at the beginning. And I think, what's his name? We had a speaker about this in Narden who mentioned he went somewhat delusional about this too. So it's a common reoccurrence somewhat in spiritual circles where people think themselves uh, messiahs or something like that. And just that it is, um, if you don't watch out for it, it feels like you're doing something for the world, but as it says in the quote, you're still stuck on the self.
yeah, yeah. That's a really good point, and I think most, if not all of us, probably come at it in the beginning the same way you did, and I feel like most of us probably don't realize that, and it's a hard thing to see that in ourselves. It's also the first way to change it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. If anyone had any thoughts, stop me now. Go to the next quote. Any takers to read this one?
I can read.
Thank you.
The disciple who has the power of entrance and is strong enough to pass each barrier will, when the divine message comes to his spirit, forget himself utterly in the new consciousness which falls on him. If this lofty contact can really rouse him, he becomes as one of the divine in his desire to give rather than to take, in his wish to help rather than be helped, in his resolution to feed the hungry rather than take manna from heaven himself. His nature is transformed, and the selfishness which prompts man's actions in ordinary life suddenly deserts him.
Yeah, and this reminds me of what you're just talking about a bit, Kaio. And that if I feel that if we try and go in this direction too soon, it does become a bit of a savior complex, and we pretend we don't need anything, and we're just trying to help and give these things away. But it's still the personality that's operating, and as a consequence, that personality is probably getting more and more unhealthy because it's still in a state where it needs some of these things. It's not ready to give them up yet. But
What strikes, yeah,
yeah,
just what strikes out for me is this that divine in his desire to give rather to take. And somebody says like that the physical body is growing by taking food and taking things, but the spiritual body is growing by giving, sharing. Like if I have a knowledge and I share it with others, this is like doubled knowledge or like this double experience and so on. So I think it's like very nicely said, like the divine in his desire to give rather than to take, to help rather than to be helped. Yeah.
Yeah, it reflects the nature of the matter to absorb and to take and accumulate, and the nature of spirit to give, to share, to expand, I guess.
one of the questions I had set aside for this, if anyone's willing to share, this is a bit, I guess, personal and revealing, so you don't have to. But I would ask if anyone's ever had a taste of this consciousness, like within themselves, if they've felt this within themselves, and you look at it or think back of when you felt it, what seems to be the driving factor in you? Um, is it simply, booty and practice, if you can call it that, or something else, or if you had any thoughts or reflections on when you've seen this in yourself?
I would like to share and say that I think that many of us have the smell of that state of consciousness, like fragrance that comes from it, if not maybe full experience. And for me, I think the factors that can get us closer to this are one, well, good examples, good ideas. When we read about the Masters of Wisdom and the great students and people who do live like that or lived like that in the past. That's one important factor because it like inserts the set of ideas to our mind so that our mind becomes capable of even thinking about it. Then another factor is big dissatisfaction with life, with oneself. So there's like a driving force, like energy that makes us to change for the better, to do something in a better way. And then actions that are driven by this surge, which go into the direction of those ideas. So maybe there's three factors: ideas that are beautiful, dissatisfaction, and practical things that we do. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, to me, it seems maybe all three of those things at the same time are necessary. That was very well formulated, I think. Yeah, when I was reading this, and thinking about it, the idea of dissatisfaction didn't cross my mind, but I think you're absolutely right. Uh, and I'm reminded of, if we look back at world history and different civilizations and whatnot, typically the situations or the civilizations that are in really nice places where food is readily available, and they don't have to work very hard. It stays pretty simple. I mean, I'm sure they're happy and there's some spiritual development they can do there, but it stays pretty low key. And places where life is harder, where you have to plan, if you don't, you die, they become a lot more developed. And maybe it's similar to the spiritual life, where if everything is fine and hunky dory and we don't really have any big problems, there's no impetus for us to help instead of be helped, um, to do these things. So maybe, yeah, I think you're right. It takes suffering to want to become a person like this.
Yeah. You ask also about the like personal experience, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if I have, but then I remembered every once in a while I read something that is so good that I felt like, oh, I just have to share it somehow. Like I have to mark it down that I would use it, in a lecture or article or something, or like I have to. It's so good that I have to share it, send it to somebody at least, or um, like I mean, mostly it's philosophical. Sometimes it's some other things also, but it's like this feeling like this is like too good. Uh, if somebody else would find, I would wish them, that they would share it with me. So I just, share it with somebody at least. Yeah.
Medic, I already felt like this was a few times that you read some things that are so good that you must share with someone, but some
Yes.
people wouldn't understand the beauty of that. So yeah, I totally understand you, my friend.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have at least Young Theosophists, like the youth forum, or at least something where we can share like this kind of, or like sometimes it's a longer article or something. So at least I have a group of, or at least I had somebody who I can send it, because like, yeah, sometimes it's like, it's too good to behold just for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes unfortunately I also detect in me the feeling that I wish that no one else shared it before I do because it's so good that I want to be the one to share it.
Oh, oh,
Oh, that's something to work with, of course.
Any other thoughts on this one before the next?
I can share a little bit. Oh, sorry, Seth.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
No, I see you said your Zoom keeps crashing.
So I, at least it feels to me like this, the passing of the barrier each time, but it's not, it comes through pain. And I noticed I've gone astray again, or I have been focusing on the wrong things for the wrong motives. And there's a crash, and then I go back, have to go through the same barrier again and again and again. It's not a one barrier, then the next one, then the next one, but basically the same one, and I have to keep going through it and then falling back, losing my way, and then circling back and then realizing it once again. But each time this revelation comes, it feels so sometimes it can feel very connected with a higher purpose, and it's, I mean, this feeling of truly letting go, even though it's temporary, and then I'll go back to selfish drives again. Every time you can't truly let go, it feels very wondrous. Yeah, and it's a very powerful feeling that this thing that he describes there, even though probably only in a yeah, partial way.
Yeah, and this idea of a barrier to pass, we didn't really talk about it at all, but I think that's worth mentioning too. And I've seen that in my own life where, yeah, like there's a particular barrier, if you want to call it, and it keeps coming back over and over again. And to me, that kind of gives credence to this idea that everything happens for a reason and with purpose. Otherwise, why would this one issue in different forms keep coming back until I've actually figured out my motivations and what's going on here? Uh, so, yeah, to me, even sometimes the troubles that we have that keep coming back are pointers that there's something more.
Uh, yeah. So on the point of barriers, what do you feel those barriers are for you in a general way?
Yeah. Yeah, when I look at my life, though, those barriers are normally they seem to be things that, at least for this particular lifetime, have always been there, and I suspect come from previous lifetimes, like just
Mhm.
particular ways that my personality works or operates and reacts to a certain situation, and I don't know why it does it. So I suspect it comes from, other lifetimes, and
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, me probably too. Um, well, what I was trying to get at was that mine, I mean, yeah, barrier is a word, but I'd say what I'm letting go of. The passing of the barrier is actually letting go of some attachment I've felt attached to. I allowed myself to get attached to once again. So when I was talking about going through barriers there, for me at least, it's usually yeah, I think in all the cases, it's letting go of some attachment once again. So I was wondering if you have any kind of other examples, like of passing a barrier that is maybe not letting go of attachment.
I could say this is a very hard lesson, but it's very important as well, my friend.
Mhm.
Well, one of example of a barrier that is not attachment maybe is when you want to behave in a certain good way in certain situations, but you cannot because of either lack of awareness or not enough will. Like you know how you should react, you know how you should behave, but some inner strength is not enough yet. There are inner factors that are stronger that make you behave not in the way that you like. And so it
True.
repeats and repeats and repeats, and then finally you break the ceiling and you pass to that new chamber of experience, so to say. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, true.
yes, that's a good point, and makes me think of like an athlete, training to be able to do something where they're not attached to anything. It's not the reason they can't run really fast, but they go through this training and then they can. Um, and spiritual life can maybe be similar. Uh, where we can come up with particular practices that come from theosophy or spirituality and use that as a way to go further. And us not being able to do that yet is a barrier, just like Sval was saying. Yeah, thank you. That was a really good thing to focus on and think about. Well, before I go on, anything else on that before for the next quote? All right. Did anyone want to read this one?
I can read this one.
Okay, thank you.
Please, my English is not very good, so forgive everybody. The demand of the neophyte remains unheard until the voice in which it's uttered has lost the power to want. This is because the divine astral life is a place in which order reigns, just as it does in natural life. There is, of course, always the center and the circumference as there is in nature. Close to the central heart of life, on any plane, there is knowledge, there is order, no, there order reigns completely, and chaos makes dim and confused the other margin of the circle.
Thank you.
No problem.
A disclaimer, this language here is this is very early theosophical language, so it wasn't really hashed out yet. When I read this and I think about it, to me it seems that divine astral, she's trying to say Buddhic, divine astral being the counterpart of lower astral, which is our emotions, in the same way that theosophically now it's accepted that the lower mind is the counterpart of the higher mind. So she's kind of making that direct correlation between lower astral and higher or divine astral, which is an interesting thing to think about, I think. And another thought I had on this is that it's proposing going to the heart of the issue to fix it instead of, looking at symptoms and things, which I think that works on every plane of existence, like in our work lives to our emotional lives to our spiritual lives. So I feel that's interesting, and I didn't know if anyone had any thoughts about what it's like for you to try and go to the heart of like an existential question, like what are we doing and why? Why are we here? Guess we don't like this quote.
No, it's very interesting. Just one thought that it comes that since well, to be heard means to be in some unison with those who hear, that is with the masters or with the true self, and for that certain big degree of selflessness is already required. So losing the ability to hear is like probing stone, like a test that shows that degree of selflessness has already been achieved, and so your voice can be heard.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it seems the whole point of this quote is in the first sentence there that, before the voice can speak, it must have lost the power of the wound. And then the rest of it, I'm not sure I see how it connects to that yet. It kind of seems to go off on a tangent, right? I wonder if there is a connection that I'm not seeing yet.
So, is this quote related to any particular text? Because what demand is he talking about right now? The demand, yeah.
Yeah, it's later on in Light on the Path, it says something along the lines of to be able to speak is to obtain the power of helping others. So I think what it's trying to say is that this demand is the ability to help other people, or it's also said in Light on the Path later on that those that ask shall have. So I think it's along that same lines that, before what you ask for, you actually get, you must have lost the capability to hurt other people.
Okay.
Maybe speak to our motivation or something. Yes.
Maybe to be heard is to be close to the center of the circle, and for that you need to be like in harmony with other parts, because if you're in harmony, there is order between the parts, then one part doesn't hurt the other. And if you are closer to periphery, then those particles there bump into each other and can hurt each other, but they are not hurt because they're far away from the center.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, force being exerted from the center maybe has this capability to harmonize with everything in the periphery, whereas that same force pushed out on the periphery, like you're saying, impacts all those molecules on the outside, and it's not harmonious. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And this will be the last quote, and then we'll go to the last 2 minutes of silence. Before we do, though, did anyone have any closing thoughts they wanted to share?
Sorry, just very, very good to be together. So thank you, Seth.
Yeah, like that feels mutual. Very glad you're all here.
I also want to say thank you because these meetings are really good, and I love this book, Light on the Path. It's one of my favorites. So I'm glad that we can be together to learn together about this very, very, very important thing. So I would like to say that I appreciate a lot, and thank you all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of my favorite books too.
Yes, mine too. Thank you.
All right, closing 2 minutes and some moving trees here. And just to kind of take what we thought about, bundle it up into an orb of light, or however you want to imagine it, and send it out as an act of service. So we help others and not just us. Starting now.
I have an experience. Can I say a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
I had an experience that I really, really wanted to help someone in a very deep and profound way. In the connection, it was really good, but at some point, something got wrong. And I had to learn about everything, the whole experience. And for me, when we read the book, it makes total sense because we can fail sometimes when we are trying to do some very altruistic actions, but we are not very they don't understand us. So it's like you cannot even say, because if you say, you may ruin it. So ruin it. And that was that I want to share. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's it's motivating to hear because we will inevitably fail, and that's okay. Try again.
Yeah, that's my goal now. I will try again. That's life.
It's life. All right. 2 minutes of silence starting now. Right. That's 2 minutes, and I just want to say thank you again, all of you, for being here. It's always really good to spend time with the Theosophical family, and I hope you all have a good week and month.
Likewise. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, have a nice week.